The things that we're hearing from teachers is that they're dealing with excessive workload, excessive pressure, not great boundaries between work and life. So that's blended for a lot of teachers, as it is for lots of us, but particularly teachers. And also, they've been working through a very stressful situation whereby the change just keeps coming. And we're made to be able to deal with change, short periods and short bursts of change. But we're starting to see the after effects of that for teachers.
A lot of people say, well, hang on a minute, they get reasonable holidays. Most of their lessons have been online for the past couple of years. Does that add to the mental pressure or ease it?
I think it's different for everyone, but you've got to remember everything went online really quickly. That takes a lot of work to figure out how to engage children online, to keep teaching at the same standard, to redesign class lessons. So actually, even though you're not in a physical space with children, sometimes that's harder. But regardless of whether that's an easier situation or a harder situation, it is a huge change that teachers had to respond to really quickly. And of course, we know teachers get holidays. They've great holidays. That's a perk of the job. But ultimately, what we're finding is the time where teachers are working, they're working much longer hours. So they're starting very early, finishing very late. So even though they do have those holidays, the periods where they don't, which is the vast proportion of their year, is actually becoming more intense and more stressful.
This report, they've spoken to obviously lots of teachers. One primary school head teacher saying the community's COVID weary, desperate to return to normal. To what extent is this just a symptom of working in amidst a pandemic rather than specifically about teaching?
There is an element of that. Of course, lots of us have experienced huge amounts of change over the last 18 months plus, of course. However, teachers are frontline workers. They have had to deal with change. They've had to be involved face to face with people. There's also that worry and that fear as well, particularly, at the start of the pandemic, we didn't know how this was going to pan out. And actually teachers are having to make decisions continuously because we're still responding to the pandemic. So part of it is, yes, COVID-19, we've all had to navigate that in the working world. The teachers, I think, have had it a lot harder and have had a lot more stress, and the pressure as well of educating our future, the children that one day are going to be adults in this country, is huge.
That term mental health, though, it covers so much, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. And I think if you look at the reports, there's details of burnouts, excessive workload, that can lead to depression, that can lead to anxiety, all kinds of issues with mental health as well. And as much as it's useful to help teachers to focus on resilience, and that's something that I work on, and it's something that we really need to give teachers those tools, those skills, that support, that training, ultimately we can't ignore the fact that their working life might need to be changed a bit as well to be able to deal with this pressure, to deal with the workload as well.
I live with a teacher. It's almost impossible for you to separate your work life from your home life. Do you have advice for anyone in any profession who's got that problem of how you sort of carve out some boundaries?
That's really challenging, and it's something that we've seen become even more challenging since a lot of us have been working from home or doing a bit of hybrid, a bit face-to-face. Those boundaries are really difficult. There are ways of doing it. So it does depend on your preferences. Some people like this more fluid working life where their personal life fits really well alongside their working life. You can kind of dip in and out of both. For other people, we like a hard line between those where you leave work at work and then you do your home life or your personal life when you're at home. But there are some things that you can do. So, for example, have some principles for yourself around times that you work. You might say, actually, I don't work past 7 p.m. or I'm not going to answer emails first thing in the morning or check my emails when I'm in bed in the morning. You might be able to take advantage of things like breaks, like lunch breaks, for example, getting outside, whether you're working from home, whether you're in the school, removing yourself from that environment. Being in nature is also something that research tells us is really good for our mental health and switching off. So there are things that you can do for sure in terms of setting those boundaries for yourself. The problem is when things are very busy or you are dealing with an excessive workload, it can be really hard to make that a priority. And that's part of the issue here.